Hello, welcome to the podcast. Well, in this episode of the podcast, we'll be talking about other podcasts. The first podcast doesn't exist because I don't know what to put for the first podcast. The second podcast we have is the Blockcast. It's from BFB24 and you should go watch it now, it's amazing. And the third podcast is probably one of the best podcasts. It's called the podcast. This is the podcast. Well, since you ruined my moment of happiness, we're sending you down the hatch. Bye forever. Well, that wraps it up for the podcast episode 1. For episode 2, we'll talk about the weather. Bye.